Now
There
I'm
we go.
unmuted. There I am.
Hi,
Anyway,
my
so
friend.
nice to meet you.
It's nice to
And
meet you. Where are you calling in from today?
New York City,
You're in New
downtown
York, New York.
Columbus. Yes, you can definitely hear my voice. There's no hiding where I'm from. Um,
I'm a New Yorker too, so I got you. I got you.
so I just want to thank the team at PowerToFly for putting together this event and inviting me to speak about our program and services. So I
Awesome.
do have a PowerPoint. And also, I guess before I start, just to introduce myself, I am the Director of Business and Partnerships. I have been working in this field and with this organization in this space for over 30 years.
Mm,
So I've definitely seen the good changes, but we have a long way to go still.
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm here on the back end, Michelle. If you need anything, also if questions come in and there's time for that at the end, we can kick that up together. So I will hand it
Absolutely.
over to you.
Now, are you seeing my screen?
Not yet.
Haha.
Aha.
All right, I got to go all the way back. Hold on. So I'm hitting share, share. Now are you seeing my
Great.
screen?
Now we are up and running. We're just waiting for it to go full screen. There it is. Okay, off we go.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, AHRC is one of the largest service providers for people with developmental disabilities and who are neurodiverse. We have been around, we just celebrated 75 years, and we provide a full array of services for more than 15,000 people in New York City. That's all 5 boroughs. We have clinical services, we have recreation and camping services, day programs, residential, in-home services, and our name, as you can see, has been rebranded and stands for Advocacy, Humanity, Reimagination, and Change. And our whole mission is to make everybody included and for people who are neurodiverse to lead the fullest lives that possible for them. So I have been focused for the past over 30 years, as I said, in employment and business services. Although the agency started in 1949, our program started in 1986, and our whole focus is on helping individuals prepare for work, obtain work, and maintain employment. And we support over 2,000 people annually, so we have a really large program, and it's not one size fits all. It's really based on kind of exploring with an individual what their interests are, what their abilities are, and kind of connecting them with the right supports and services they need to obtain their dream job. So there are 2 different pathways, and then I'm going to break it into the different types of programs. So one pathway is direct placement, and that's really for individuals who need some supports on exploring different career opportunities, what their interests are, how to advocate for themselves. Do they want to disclose what accommodations you're going to need? So it's really a conversation. We kind of meet with you and work on where you're at and where you want to be. And so it's really short-term supports on kind of helping you develop your career plan and focus and opening up those opportunities on how you're going to get there. So we help you with the interviews. We have relationships with businesses, which I'll go into, and we kind of help match you with the right opportunity and explore those opportunities. Supported employment are for individuals who not only need the initial help and assistance, but long-term supports. So we can stay with an individual if they're eligible through our extended service providers, right? So there is eligibility requirements for really both programs, but for the long-term one, there's OPWDD, Office of Persons with Developmental Disabilities, OMH, Office of Mental Health, or Access VR that will provide long-term supports. And what I mean by that, if somebody needs a job coach down initially as well as long-term to kind of do check-ins and also help you with career advancement. So we do have specific programs, and not everybody goes into one of these specific programs, but I just wanted to share different possibilities and different pathways to employment. So we have Project Search, which is a school to work transition program. So those individuals who are still presently in high school. We have our Partnership for Inclusive Internships, which is internships in city government and state and federal, and I'll explain. We have our Advance and Earn, which is a GED focused, as well as different career paths. And we have a career specific training program. And then we also run an affirmative business, Hudson River Services, that focuses on both messenger and custodial work. So Project Search, first New York one was 2015. As I said, it is a school program. So it's when students are in their last year of school, instead of going to a traditional high school, they actually spend their day in internships at specific businesses. And we have our host businesses are listed down here. So Montefiore Medical in the Bronx, Staten Island University in Staten Island, obviously. RXR is a large building management company, and we're in a very large office building in Manhattan. Queens Presbyterian. Pratt is in University in Brooklyn. Restaurant Associates is a company that manages a lot of corporate cafes. Actually, they're doing the US Open right now. We have a group of people who are working with Restaurant Associates at the US Open. That program for the school is going to be at Hudson Yards in 8 different employment sites at Hudson Yards. And then we are starting one in Cohen Children's Hospital. Now, this is an internship program, so they rotate through different internships. It's a partnership with the school, the business, and the service provider. So we provide the coaching supports, and then we help with job placement after. Sometimes jobs end up at these host businesses, and sometimes they end up at other businesses. But these are very supportive businesses that provide a wonderful pathway to employment. And then about 5 years ago, actually it might even be 6, we started what's called the Partnership for Inclusive Internships. And this is a program that is also a partnership. It's a private-public partnership with city government. It started first in city government with the Human Resource Administration and the Department of Social Services. It has since expanded, as you can see, into the Department of Transportation, DCAS, which is the Human Resource Administration, New York Parts Department, MTA, and all these other, and it keeps on expanding. It's actually so successful in providing internships, which provide skill development. So not only are the people getting skills and job readiness, but it's actually changing the hiring practices in city government. It's been very hard. And even with when I spoke about Project Search previously, in the past, and doing this for all these years, it was very hard to get people jobs in city government who were neurodiverse. And it was very hard to get people jobs because of the unions in hospitals. Well, these programs are changing that culture and really opening up job, not only training opportunities, but job opportunities in these sectors. And so individuals work in these internships. And so we've had nearly 200 interns who have participated. And we've had 49 who've actually gone on to work in city jobs. Others have gone on to work in other jobs. And the jobs are anywhere from IT, data entry and scanning, digitizing, social services. We've had people who work in accessibility. offices and really changing how accessible the MTA systems are and the buildings. So it really is a wonderful way to not only get training, but also end up with a job. And this is so popular that it's being replicated in the state right now, in Albany. And so we're hoping to continue to grow our PI program. Advance and Earn is a 20-week program where I said, people can work on getting their GED. And they also can work on getting what's called a direct or professional certificate. That is just one career path. So a DSP is somebody who works with individuals who have developmental disabilities, whether it's in residential or day programs. It could be in healthcare. And so those are two different tracks, but this program also helps with other opportunities and exploring career options. And our Hudson River Services is a really large affirmative business that we have been running for over 25 years. We offer, building maintenance, messenger services. We are contracted through Human Resource Administration to do all foot and motor deliveries, as well as working with the FDNY, the police department, so MTA, the Staten Island Ferry. So there's a lot of job opportunities in those areas. Now, the other question I had presented to me is, how does an employer get involved, and how does an employer make a success for not only the individual who's getting the job, but for the whole business, right? So we know that hiring people who are neurodiverse is good business. It's making a more diverse, equitable, inclusive workplace. And how do we do that? How do we support our staff? Well, first is to have a colleague as a buddy. Now, in all of these programs that I spoke about, PI, as well as Project Search, Advance and Earn, when we work with a business, there always seems to be a natural mentor, somebody who is in that position. So whether we're doing sterilization at Montefiore of equipment, well, there is a manager in that department, and that department naturally works with the individual, teaching them the important skills needed to be successful in that job, as well as others. So anointing a buddy is really very important, and I do call it a mentor a lot of times. Using an external organization such as ours to provide, on-site or even off-site coaching supports. Sometimes people need help with time management. Sometimes people need assistance. Information is presented in a way that is confusing, and they learn best through very literal, right? Or they are a visual learner. And so really understanding the job coach actually in the external organization really knows that individual. We just don't place individuals. And one of the questions presented to me is, how do we match the individual? Well, the organization works with the individual way before we're actually recommending them for a job, right? So we get to know what their interests are. We might do a skills assessment. We might do an initial internship. We have meet with them on a regular basis. We do background checks. We really get to learn what this individual's strengths are, what their interests are, and match them with the job and know what supports they're going to need once they get on the job. As I said, whether it is time management, whether it is organizational skills, whether it is communication. Having disability awareness trainings. I've met with many companies from Salesforce to Etsy. And these are just a few of our big companies that we work with. Barclay, we work with a lot of the arenas, the hospitals, as we previously said, and we meet with their team and we speak about how is somebody's communication style? What is interpersonal skills? What are some of the challenges individuals might have? and what are some of the best supports needing. So we do disability awareness training with all businesses that we work with and those who have reached out. Think about interviewing options. You know, the traditional having a conversation might not be the best for some people. It might be a job tryout. You know, see what their skills are, because they might not be the best communicator, but they could certainly do that job, right? And then whatever reasonable accommodations. I have one individual who works in an AI company, and he gets distracted easily by noise, right? So he has noise reducing headphones, and he does an excellent job and has been there for 7 years. So, you know, those accommodations could be so little, but make such a difference in the success of your employee. So as we said, diversity doesn't work without inclusion, right? So we want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to be included in the workplace, and we want to work with both the individuals and the businesses to really make sure that happens. So it's also important to put the person first before the disability, right? So it's a person who uses a wheelchair. It is a person with a disability, right? So you want to define the person first and focus on their strengths. So, as I spoke before, an inclusive workplace fosters innovation and drives economic growth. It is so proven over and over again that those employers who are more inclusive and have a diverse work culture are better organizations. And we are here to help that happen on all ends. We work with the individual, we get to know them, and we get to help them with their pathway to employment. We get to know the business, right? So we don't just place someone, we go into the business, we meet with their team. And one great example, all right, is we met with a real estate company that wanted an individual to work in their HR department. I had a few different candidates. We explained the program to them. We brought our candidates in. They chose who they thought would be the best, but they decided they did want to hire this person on a temp with the job coach and see how they do for 2 weeks. Person did great, and they were permanently hired. So there's a lot of different ways that businesses can make sure that they're hiring the right person, and that also the interview process is for the individuals looking. And I always tell that to the individuals that we work with. When you go on an interview, that interview is also for you to see, is this the right work environment for me? Is this the right job for me? So it's a learning on both ends. And we work with both of our partners to make sure that the individual is happy and to make sure that the job is happy. And here is my contact information. I know we actually have a few minutes to have some questions and answers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michele.
I know that was a lot of information in a very short period. So,
you know, that's the way I kind of like it. So I can just like really focus in as someone that's, you know, part of the neurodiverse community. Like you said, when you were talking about you get distracted by sounds, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a huge part for me. It happened during my talk in the previous half hour. Like someone's outside, the dog is barking. I'm like, I don't know what I was talking about at all.
right. How do I get back there? And I think helping, you know, employers understand that that might be an accommodation that's needed. It's just a conversation, right? So you want to have those conversations. You want to change the hiring practices within businesses to be more open to understanding that everybody has different styles.
Yes.
And everybody can be productive once they find what their passion is. So that's also part of, you know, what we do here is I work with the individuals, like, what is your passion? Where do you want to end up? You know, so we work with so many different employers and so many different types of jobs. So it really is very individualized program. There's no one set way, just like all of us, right? There's no one set way.
Right, right. And I loved hearing about the individual you talked about with the success story of the noise canceling headphones, and now that they've been working there for 7 years, and it's just such an easy, it's a deceptively easy fix there. And there's, it's just like, it's such a small thing, right? But it makes a huge difference. Are there
Yep.
other things like that employers can be mindful about, or other stories you'd like to share with us that have been like that? Maybe it's small, maybe it's big.
So, you know, it's that concrete thinking that a lot of the individuals we work with have, for example. And I once got a phone call from an employer and they were like, you know, John is coming in, he's clocking in, whatever. And at the end of the day, he's clocking out at 3:45 instead of 4. Can you have a conversation, find out what's happening? Now, why didn't the employer have that conversation is another question at the time. And this is something, you know, a few years ago, and I probably should have directed the employer to, but I had the conversation with John, and John's like, well, my train gets me here 15 minutes earlier. I'm supposed to only work a 7-hour workday. And I clock in at 7:45. So I'm clocking out at 3:45. So you don't take his money, you know, take the employer's money. And it was such a logical and like a truthful answer. And the way that that person processes information that the employer missed, right? And it's just having that conversation. And so I think so many times people jump to conclusions, and
Yep.
it's really important not to. And so that's something I always tell employers that, you know, people think differently, process information differently. Sometimes individuals we work with, you ask a question and they're not really looking directly at you. That doesn't mean they're not thinking, they're not hearing what you're saying. And sometimes it takes them a few minutes longer to process what they want to say and to give them that chance. So those are also some tips I give employers. Sometimes they're more visual learners, right? So that one individual who I told you is working and in a human resource department, one of his jobs is to make sure the conference rooms are set up for the next meetings. And so when I went to visit him, he was showing me, he takes pictures of how he sets it up so he remembers the next time how it's going to look. So just maybe sometimes people need some, you know, visual props to be successful on their job.
Yeah, I love that. They're all small wins that have big impact.
Exactly.
That's great. Yeah. The eye contact is a great thing to talk about, because social cues are ingrained that there's a certain way to communicate social cues in, especially in work environments, right? You know, in public settings, there's maybe a little bit, there's a different kind of judgment or acceptance. Whereas in the workplace, there's like, well, we have to shake hands firmly and look each other in the eye and do all this thing. It's like, well, what if they're sensitive to touch, and what if they don't? And it doesn't help them looking you in the eye. It actually can be quite distracting.
Exactly. So when we have that disability awareness training with employers, these are the conversations and these are what I talk about with them, you know,
Yeah.
and it's important to understand.
Have there been any moments with people that you're training that maybe it just took a little extra effort to help them understand? And how did you do that?
So as I've said continually, you know, every person is different, right? So all the training is different. So if somebody needs a longer time with a job coach, with somebody kind of being their direct support staff and working with them on modeling what is needed, there's no set time, right? So somebody might, it's a quick, they just need us to help them orientate them to the job, help them open up that opportunity, show them what their tasks are, and they're able to do it. And others have a longer learning curve. right? As you just
Mm.
pointed out. And then we're
Mm-hmm.
going to stay with them. We're going to break it down. We're going to figure out where they're at and what tools and supports they need to be successful. And we're with them as long as until that happens.
Mm.
And sometimes it might not be the right opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we'll work out another job opportunity. So we
Mm.
are lifeline. I mean, I've worked with people for over 30 years. I've worked with people who maybe the first job hasn't worked out. Maybe they needed longer time in terms of supports, or they're ready for a career advancement, right? And how do we have that conversation and make sure, because we don't want people to just get a job. We want people to have careers.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a life, right? Um, it's for life that we're going to be working with individuals who maybe they weren't with us anymore and they came back and said, you know what, Michele, I'm ready to take on something new.
Yeah.
Or the business goes out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of things, so it really is very individualized, and that conversation is always new.
Yeah. Michele, this has been so great. What are the best ways for folks to reach out to you if they want to keep the conversation going?
So I think I put in my PowerPoint, but I will say it. My email is always the best. It's Michele with one L .Shapiro SHAPIRO at AHRC NYC.org. So
Awesome.
that is definitely the best way to reach me. I check my emails all the time. You can reach out on LinkedIn. I know you guys are big on LinkedIn. I'm getting more used to it, but I'm still a little old school, but I'm getting more with technology as it goes.
I love it. I wasn't on LinkedIn until I started working at PowerToFly 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, that's not for me. And now I'm like, I live there. And now I live
Yeah,
there.
as I'm going to more and more conferences instead of business cards, I'm having people connect on LinkedIn, and I'm trying to get more comfortable, and I will. So
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
look at
See, it's
LinkedIn
an
so you can.
ongoing process for all of us. We're all learning every day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
And we'll
thank
be
you
sure.
again.
Oh, thank you, Michele. And we'll be sure to drop your email in the chat too for our learners that maybe didn't catch that when you said it. We'll also drop it in the chat so they can easily copy and paste it and reach out.
That would be perfect. All right.
Okay.
Good luck with the rest of the conference. Enjoy.
Thank you
And
so much. Take care.
thank you.